Welcome to yet another Love is Blind Season 4 After the Altar reaction video. If you clicked on this video and you're not already a subscriber and it just popped up in your feed because you watch Love is Blind content and you've watched some of the reaction videos, I want to make a couple things clear before you watch mine. Number one, I don't hate any of the characters. Yes, that means I don't hate Jackie, I don't hate Josh, I don't hate Irina, I don't hate Micah. I don't have personal beef with any of the villains, and I actually can even see where some of their problematic behavior is coming from, to the point where I almost resent social media more for villainizing and then cyberbullying them the way that they did. I know what it's like to make mistakes, and as a result, and kind of to a fault, I do tend to extend empathy. So you might hear me say things about certain characters that you're not going to hear in other videos where people are just like, this character continues to be annoying, or I hate this or I hate that, whatever. This video will sound different than you're probably used to. So if you're looking for another reaction video where someone's just like, and another thing that's wrong with Micah, you're not going to find it here. If you're looking for a video where someone's like, and this is why Jackie sucks, you're not going to find it here. I have my opinions, I have my ideas, and I do understand and acknowledge that they are different than a lot of people who are looking and criticizing and commenting on Love is Blind, but I want to make sure that you understand that before you continue to watch. All right, here we go. Hello, and welcome to my channel. So hopefully you heeded the disclaimer from a few seconds ago, and you are ready for a truly unbiased review of After the Altar. Well, I can't say completely unbiased because you already heard all my biases. We all have bias. If you're going to do commentary on something, then your bias is going to show. I already explained to you where I'm coming from, so you know this is not going to be a reaction video that you're probably used to seeing. I hope you're okay with that if you decide to continue to watch. I wanted to make sure that I watched After the Altar and I took the time to respond to it because honestly, you guys, that's where a lot of my new followers first started coming. When it came to this year, I had changed my mind about what kind of content I wanted to do, and I was trying to figure out, like, okay, what can I talk about? What's going on? And then I was watching what was going on social media, and I was watching the conversation people were having, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna watch this Love is Blind thing. Ain't never watched nothing like this in my life. I'm gonna take a look. And I think that this was the perfect season to come in on. Season 4, for me and for other people that I've talked to who have watched all the seasons, was the most dramatic, and that's still wild to me because I'm like, it wasn't even that dramatic, in my opinion, based on the reality TV I've seen. Like, I've watched 5 seasons of Real Housewives of Atlanta, so I'm like, this little thing here doesn't measure up to that at all. But according to people who watched it, for Love is Blind, this was very dramatic. It created some real social media villains. I have not seen anybody ever from a Netflix show hate it as much as Jackie is hated. Oh my God. And you may say, well, you don't even watch reality TV, so you don't know. Maybe, but wow. This show definitely produced some super villains in the minds of people who watch reality TV. And I also think it's interesting because according to people who watch and according to the data and the results, this show produced the most marriages and most couples. And so I think it really stands out for that reason too. In my opinion, this was the perfect season to come in, to start watching. And I enjoyed it. I remember back when I first saw the weddings back at the beginning of the year, I was really taken away by that. I was like in tears at almost every wedding, and I just enjoyed it. So I wanted to take a moment to respond to the very last couple of episodes as a way of also closing my chapter with this particular season. Let's start off with the winners of this love experiment. And by the winners, I mean the couples that actually got married. They got engaged and they got married. I want to start off first by talking about Brett and Tiffany. So I think as a unit, as an audience, when we think about Brett and Tiffany, we all breathe a sigh of relief. Number one, out the gate, it's the whole Black love thing. The successful iteration and representation of Black love on a popular TV show. Very, very important for a lot of reasons to a lot of people. I also think Brett and Tiffany, for what we know of them, are completely unproblematic, which is rare. which is very rare. It's very rare for somebody to go into the gauntlet that is reality TV and come out of it completely unscathed. That means people have gone all through your social media. They've gone all down your Twitter. They've talked to anyone who might know you, and you've come out unscathed. Like true heroes of the reality TV genre. I think Brett and Tiffany are a lot like Ronald from Jury Duty, just good, pure people. And as a result, they up the ante and they up the respectability level of the entire show. And what's interesting to me is Brett and Tiffany are so gracious about that status. Like they're definitely aware of it and they're very gracious about it. And I love that. I think they're an interesting couple too because of what Brett said about what Tiffany brings out of him. Brett's energy is more inner. He's more of an introvert. He's more of a brooding sort of young man. Whereas Tiffany, like from the beginning, was laughing, was talking, lots of light, lots of bright energy. And I love the fact that he says when he's around her, he realized like, I'm actually hilarious. I love to make people laugh. I'm goofy. You're the type of person that brings that out of me. I think that's such a beautiful thing. And so, yes, when it comes to Brett and Tiff, I know, breathe a sigh of relief. I made it clear in my first video that I also think she is so important, specifically her, because she is a woman who went on this experiment. She was 36 years old. And in a world where people think women drop dead after 30, she was 36 when she met this man, fell in love with him, and it's a successful relationship and she's happy. And no, a lot of people won't go on a reality show and find their person, but she did. And I think it just shows that it can happen for you in unconventional ways if it's meant to happen for you, even though you're no longer 30 years old, which is something that social media usually has a really hard time with. So love Brett and Tiff, love that they're still together, love that they have a happy relationship. And I think they're the MVPs of this season for sure. All right, the next winning couple, I'm going to talk about Bliss and Zach. So Bliss and Zach are so interesting to me because, of course, we know they had that history, that Irina history, right? Where Zach picked Irina, it didn't work out, and, you know, it was awkward at the reunion, and Irina was getting her ass handed to her, and Zach was basically like, hey, I may have not liked how you acted on the show, but you don't deserve this. He was very brave to say that because social media was like, no, she deserves to be dropped from a 20-foot story window. We hate her. Despite their past, I'm going to say that After the Altar had me a little bit confused because it starts them off in that show with them going to a doctor's office. So I was like, are they already on the baby train? Has it already started? But no, it's about Zach's allergies. So they're getting that worked out. And in general, they're just a very interesting couple to me because I think I mentioned this earlier in my first review of this show. Zach is he's interesting, you know, the singing that he does and the fact that Bliss is all here for it. She's all here for all of it. And she is gorgeous. She's gorgeous. It's just, he definitely won with that. He definitely won. I will also say this though, in the beginning, I was not a huge fan of him. But when I saw him in the After the Altar, I was like, is he hot? Is Zach a hot man? Like, what's going on here? He actually is super handsome. That's the thing. Like, a reality TV, first impressions, sometimes you really do have to go back and review, like, what was I going through when I first looked at this person and filtered them through my little brain? Like, what was I maybe thinking about and going through, and why did I put this person in a specific box? Did they deserve to be here, et cetera, et cetera? So I love Bliss and Zach. I want to also say about Bliss, she made a statement that I hate. I hate when people who were once single and open about how much they wanted to be with somebody and how important it is to them, when they get into a relationship, it's like they forget that person. Bliss said, you know, I was never someone like I wanted a partner, I needed a partner. You know, it would have been nice, but you know, it's nice to know that I have life with him. Girl, that is not who you were on that show. When you were in those pods, she sat there with Chelsea and they talked about freezing their eggs and how they want to get married and they're afraid they're never going to be anybody. I hate when people who were once single and are now partnered forget what it was like to be crazy, thirsty, anxious, you know, it bothers me because then I feel like they'll talk to their single friends that way. Now they're in a relationship and so they'll be like, you know, really, why don't you just focus on yourself? Why don't you just think about yourself? You know, have you ever tried maybe getting a hobby? I don't know. When I was single, I loved it. Man, please.
When you were single, you were swiping on the apps, you were signing up for reality shows, you were talking about freezing your eggs on national television with somebody you just met. Like, girl, you was in the trenches, okay? But anyway, hey, it is what it is. You are who you are. And she seems very happy with him and he with her. And so, yeah, an interesting couple, also part of the winner's circle. My final couple I want to talk about, the final winners, are Kwame and Chelsea. They are such an interesting couple to me because I think I was initially skeptical. I think a lot of people were skeptical of Kwame and Chelsea because we just didn't know how real it was. Because on the show, when Micah turned Kwame down, I know y'all remember, this man broke down into tears. He was in tears over losing Micah. And so when Chelsea accepted his proposal, it really did give second choice, second string. Like, even though Zach went with Irina first, when he came back and went after Bliss, it was like, no questions asked. I'm on you. I'm with you. You're who I want. But from the beginning, to me, it seemed like Kwame was having to get used to Chelsea because he didn't want to lose the game. He wanted to be a champion in the game. That's what it seemed like to me. I'm not going to completely throw away that observation, but I do think that them being together and him seeing what Chelsea was really about and moments that we didn't get a chance to see necessarily on reality TV, things that they opened up about on their own social media after the original show was out. I think they did have a natural bond. They seem to have a decent relationship. They are both natural competitors and if and when they have kids, their kids ain't gonna be nothing to play with out on whatever field they put them on. But I do want to say also that I wish they had taken a moment, and I'll say this for Zach and Bliss too, but really for Kwame and Chelsea, to talk about the intercultural relationship that they have. Like, when Kwame was sitting at the table with Chelsea's family and they were talking about how he didn't even know who his parents were until he was like 6 or 7. He didn't know who his real mom was. He was in the United States being raised by another relative, and he met his mom and she gave him some jollof rice, and he'll always remember that day. That is a huge experience as a person, as a young child. Chelsea, as you know, you're all American looking white American woman. How do you really talk to or speak to someone who's had that experience? I'm not saying she doesn't have the empathy or the natural insight for it, but I would love to know what their conversations are like, what that dynamic is like for them as a couple, because it's not just an interracial relationship, it's an intercultural relationship too. And I also felt it was interesting when Chelsea talked about how she's still trying to ingratiate herself to Kwame's mom. I think Netflix handles that in a very polite way, but, and I think that that's probably out of respect for his mom, but I do think that that is something also that would be interesting to hear talked about out loud. When you are having this intercultural relationship and you have a parent who is kind of against it initially, what parts of it was she against? I think they talk about this. I would have enjoyed hearing it again. I don't know what I wanted. Just a little bit more. I'll also say that Chelsea was interesting to me because she definitely comes off as, and she has this part about her, she's a good example of somebody who you can never be all of one thing. You're never all good. You're never all bad. There are those of us, even for those of us who seem to be saints on earth, you're so this, you're so that, you have a dark side too. Nobody is 10 out of 10. And I say this about Chelsea because she definitely stood out as far as being someone who was kind of the embodiment of, I said I was going to love this man, I'm going to love this man. So even if he embarrasses me in front of, these people with this other woman, I'm going to get him in order so that he knows, like, I'm the one that's there for him, not her, it's me. When she found out what social media was saying about her, the way she handled that with such grace, the different posts she puts, like, she definitely is a person who, you can tell, has spent a lot of time working on herself and understands just that it's important to accept yourself before you can accept others. She's very well spoken. She works for Netflix now in the casting department. So she's definitely an admirable human being, right? But then the way she continues to treat Micah, I was like, okay, girl, you're showing us a little bit of your Achilles heel here. I think Micah will always be a problem for her. And I think that was solidified by the fact that she told Micah her man was not in Seattle, but in Brazil. And Micah needed to leave and go to Brazil. Chelsea don't want her in the same city with her man. She don't want it. She don't want it. And I think it's interesting too, Chelsea and Kwame both admitted that when they were out on the field, they were still trying to one up their old romantic rivals in a way. Chelsea was like, oh, it felt great to pull that flag off of Micah. And Kwame, I think, said something sideways about Paul, but it was like, y'all really need to move on. They're not together. Micah has a close relationship with Paul's mama than she'll ever have with Paul. And y'all got to live your life. Live your life. When it comes to the winners of the show, they had that little dinner for them at the beginning, and it was giving very much honor roll dinner. It was giving very much employees of the month. And I think it should have been, right? I think going into an experiment like this and coming out with a partner that you actually love and you can actually live life with. Like at this point, y'all, them people have been together a year and a half. Okay? And that's impressive for this kind of a social experiment. And again, when you are a reality star, your social media, who you were online before, who you are offline, like everything is vetted. And that's why even though I feel like Marshall deserved the criticism that came at him when his tweets were uncovered, I feel like I feel bad for him because it was like, this is how it goes. You know, you're not aware of the fact that people will switch on you. They will switch on you so fast. Yesterday you were their hero, but today, because of something you said 11 years ago, you're now their enemy, and they can't ride for you no more, and it's quick. So the fact that these people went through that social media mill and they came out on top, they survived whatever weirdness and awkwardness emotionally that their marriages, you know, might have had waiting for them. If you remember Bliss and Zach, like Zach dealing with Bliss's dad, oh my God, that was brutal, but he's still with her, you know? So they very much deserve to be in a winner's circle. Being on a show like this can be easy. Coming out and having the right partner cannot be easy. So I think that was pretty cool. Okay, next, let's talk about the villains. All right. I'm going to start off with Jackie and Josh. You guys heard my disclaimer at the beginning. I don't hate Jackie and Josh. I don't hate Jackie. I don't hate Josh. Here's what I think. I think Jackie is who she is. I think she picked Marshall because she felt he was the right choice. I think Marshall picked Jackie because, as he has admitted to, and he admits in this show, he had a savior complex. He saw things in her and he was like, oh, I can make her better. I can do this. I can do that. I also think when you have a history of being unloved or told you're not enough, you will subconsciously pick the type of person that has rejected you until you learn that their opinion of you is a lie. So Marshall had been told before, you're too sensitive, you're not enough of a man, by his own admission. So he's going to subconsciously be attracted to somebody who gives off that energy. I need to prove myself to someone like you so that I can be okay. That's what I believe on a personal level. And so they both chose each other for the wrong reasons. But because Jackie's behavior was so much more like, girl, what is this? She got the brunt of social media's vitriol. I don't know how she still got a profile up, if you want to keep it real. I don't know how her comments are still open. She continues to try. She continues to post TikTok. And I think, honestly, there can be some great opportunities that come from this. So I don't fully say that I don't understand that, but she definitely got put through it. It was a lot. And so I'll say with her and Josh, something I respect about them is that they definitely have had each other's back since they decided to come together and be a couple. And let's talk about them having each other's back for a second, okay? There was another player, and I am forgetting her name right now, and I need to look it up. Hold on. Okay, there was another player in the Jackie and Josh relationship, and that player was Monica. I faintly remember from the Love is Blind social media downpour in the spring of this year, I faintly remember Monica coming out and saying, I was engaged to Josh. People did not know that when I was in the pods or after the show, you know, they didn't show us. And it didn't last. And then he went and he was with Jackie. Here's my opinion about all that. So what I saw in the after the altar thing on the conversations that happened between some of the villains and some of the problem characters when they went to Chelsea's birthday party, what I saw was Monica and Jackie came together to talk, and Monica's actions during that time really hurt Jackie. And Monica didn't understand why. So let me make something clear, because I have seen some responses to this and people are like, she was accused of clout chasing, but like, who is Jackie for her to be chasing clout? She should have known that, you know, Monica was going to have some words because Josh and her have it. Here's the thing. When the whole world is against you and your friend chooses that time to add on their experience that might make you look even more negative or even more in a negative light, it's not going to bode well for your relationship, okay? It doesn't matter what happened between Monica and Josh. if Monica wanted to continue to be friends with Jackie, she had to consider at that point in time how her coming out with her truth in that moment and how she presented that truth was going to further affect her relationship with Jackie. Yes, it's true. You're allowed to have your opinions. Yes, it's true. You're entitled to your version of events. But anytime you give your version of events, and I speak from experience, both in real life and both online and off, I have said some things online and off that have created some consequences for me, and I didn't even know it at the time because I'm telling my truth. I'm speaking my experience. You're allowed to come from a place of truth and say your experience, but your people that you represent or the person that you're talking about, the person you have an opinion about, is allowed to say, based on what you just admitted and how you handled that, we can no longer have the relationship that we had. And see, here's the thing. At the time, Jackie and Josh were public enemy number one. It was different when people came forward with, I think Cassia came forward and said, me and Marshall went out on a date. That's different. A whole engagement to add to this situation when Jackie already wouldn't give back the ring and this and that. Like, Monica had to know, yes, girl, tell your story, but not right now. And watch how you tell it and watch how you're commenting if you still want to be friends with them. If not, say what you got to say. Say your piece, tell your truth, whatever. When people talk about, or when Jackie and Josh said that Monica was clout chasing, they didn't mean that she was trying to ride off of their reputation. They meant that she was trying to join everybody who was against them because it was going to make her look better and going to continue to add to the reasons why people should hate Josh and hate Jackie. So she wasn't chasing the clout of being their friend. She was chasing the clout provided to anyone who was their enemy. And if you say that there was no clout for being an enemy of Jackie during that time, you're lying. Monica speaking out at that time, the way that she did and acting the way that she did was what she was well within her rights as a human being. But sometimes your right as a human being, you have to weigh that against your respect and your allegiance to the relationships that you are in. If your truth is going to cause someone else to be hurt and you care about that person, then you might want to keep it to yourself. Now, here's the thing. The reason why Monica didn't want to keep it to herself is because she wanted retribution. I watched Josh propose to her. He said in those pods, there's nobody else that I would want. There's nobody else. That man gave her a whole speech. I would be bitter too. Absolutely. But the thing is that once you have dated a friend's man, y'all have fallen out, that relationship, I'm sorry, you got to grieve it and let it go, baby. We're not taught as people, especially as women, right? Men are the enemy. Men are the problem. We're not taught what happens when our relationships with other women are the problem. And it's not because either of us are bad people. It's that this is just not going to work. There are things that have happened here. There are things that have been said here. And I have to walk away from you. We can't function like this. I have to walk away. And as I saw Monica sit at that table in that restaurant at Chelsea's birthday party, and, why can't we be friends anymore? Why can't we? Girl, let it go. And then she was like, bring Josh over here. And the second Josh came over, her face just scrunched up and she got all mad. You don't want to talk to that man. You want to continue to criticize him and continue to put him down. And she loves that man. You got to go. It is what it is. I think sometimes we have to realize that you build a great bond with somebody for a specific time. But when other terms and conditions come in, you can walk away from them. You got to walk away from them for their peace and for yours. And we get so hung up on being a good person, not letting someone down, being a girl's girl, that we forget that our first allegiance needs to be to ourselves. And if we're putting ourselves in a position of pain or of embarrassment or of a all you're going to end up doing is resenting that person. She was never going to be able to still have a healthy relationship with Jackie once Jackie hooked up with Josh. That was it. That was the end. And I think sometimes we think we're bigger than we actually are, and we're not. So watching Monica and Jackie talk was painful. It was annoying. And I was like, when they gonna let this go? They gotta let this go. A conversation that was not painful and annoying, though, was the conversation that Micah had with Paul at this little birthday party. So we know by now that Paul dated somebody else. He's still dating her, probably. I don't know. I don't follow him on social media. And we know that Micah, we know that what happened with them. Their little relationship was, that wedding thing, I didn't fully hate Micah, so I was not like, yay, she got embarrassed whenever he left her at the altar. I didn't think that Paul was a good candidate for this experiment because he was too analytical. I think that you have to be a person you have to be led by emotion. I think when you're a very analytical person, it takes a very specific person to get you out of your head. And I don't think Micah was that person for him. And again, I think people got wrapped up with winning the game, as far like I said about Kwame and Chelsea. Like, I don't think Kwame was completely on board, but he's not going to lose the game. He's got to win the game, right? So I think Paul wanted to win, Micah wanted to win, like, let's get to the altar. But they shouldn't have, they should have stopped weeks before. They didn't have, I don't think, the emotional connection needed to be able to actually make it work ever. And watching them have such an adult conversation about that was a beautiful thing to see. Watching Micah say, I'm not going to be able to be your friend, even though I'm your mama's friend, but I'm not going to be able to be friends with you because this was a painful thing. And I wish you nothing but the best, but I got to let you go. Perfect. Wonderful. Loved it. Something else that I loved, it was kind of weird, but I did like seeing it, was the conversations that Irina was having with various people. Her conversation with Amber was so funny to me because Amber was like, girl, I don't care. You knew exactly what you did, but we're going to let it go. Go have a good life, be better. Don't grovel. I think when people, sometimes when they make a mistake, they want so badly for the other person to say, I forgive you, all is well, that they grovel. But that sometimes that forgiveness is just not coming. You extend the apology as a way of closing the account and making sure that you took that step and showing the other person that you're aware of what you did wrong and, you will hold yourself accountable. But the groveling, if they want to extend a compassion in a relationship to you, they will. But that girl wasn't interested in that. And Irina, I think, has been on an apology tour since she was on the show. So that's why she did that. But I love how their conversation went. I wish Monica and Jackie's had gone that way. I wish Jackie had been like, girl, don't worry about this. But that's not what happened. Another conversation that I thought was interesting was, Marshall and Jackie. I love that they had the talk after Jackie and Cassia said that they had both blocked Marshall. I think that there's another story there that we're not going to get to see. I think Marshall really tied himself into, or has been labeled as, one of the winners here. And so as a result, we're not going to get a lot of his problematic behavior, which apparently includes badgering people about, how they feel and what's going on. And well, after they've said, hey, we can let this go, I'm good. And I say that because both women admitted to having to block his number because he was reaching out so much. And so I think out of respect for Marshall, Netflix didn't go into that storyline, but I think it's interesting that both of them had that experience. I will say, though, that seeing Jackie and Marshall speak on camera, it was important. I don't think they got a lot accomplished, and I think it was important for the plot, because we didn't get that conversation at the reunion, and I don't blame Jackie. And if you wanted Jackie to come to the reunion, then you just want to see people fight. That's what you want, Okay. But I don't blame Jackie for setting that out. But especially at the time. But Marshall and her speaking face to face, it was never going to lead up to anything. Although I did like when she said, I really did like you. And he said, I really did like you as well. I think that was healing in a way. So yeah, I guess it was important. All the conversations, I realized, were producer driven. They were meant to close this chapter, and they were meant to get out, so the characters could get out any final words and thoughts that they had to each other, both for them on camera and for us as the viewers. So moving forward, I believe that we have Micah and Irina. They're going to be on Perfect Match, and I think that will be interesting. I will probably tune in to watch because now I know some of these people, and so I'll probably be interested, even though people say Perfect Match is not a great reality show. And the new Love is Blind premieres September the 22nd. I do wonder about this one, though, because you had all of those allegations come out about people not being treated right. When it all comes down, they're only making $7 an hour. Them being in situations where they are intended to respond dramatically and over emotionally because they're hopped up on liquor and this and that and ain't got no sleep. And so I wonder about watching the new season in good consciousness. And I don't know that my higher moral calling is going to be able to beat out my curiosity that's been created from this season. We will have to see. I'm probably going to give a couple episodes a watch and just see what happens. But all in all, I enjoyed my first foray into a reality TV dating show. Like I said before, season 4 was probably the best season to come in on. As far as the winning couples go, I want to say again, Tiffany and Brett hit the jackpot. They hit the jackpot as far as the pipeline from reality TV to influencer goes. Their status as like a successful Black couple, I wish them the best, and I hope that their love remains true and organic, because they're going to be sitting on a mountain of money. Being an influencer, having a social media presence is 100% all about people's perception of you, and Tiffany and Brett hit the jackpot. Like, it's I'm so excited for what happens for them in their future, and for the other couples as well. But I think I definitely have my eyes on that couple specifically. As far as another couple, Jackie and Josh, some people said or went and wrote in her comments that he doesn't treat her well, he doesn't do this and that. I don't think we'll ever fully convince everybody who watches reality TV to take a step back and realize you don't see everything. Josh, to me, is a wannabe comedian. He likes to make little jokes. He's very sarcastic. That's probably what Jackie likes about him. He doesn't take himself too seriously. I think Marshall takes himself very seriously initially, right? We all know he could be goofy. His little faces are their social media goals at this point. But I think when it comes to Josh, he just jokes around in a different way. And Jackie having a tougher exterior, that probably works really well for her. She likes that type of joking. I want to also say, I think the way that Josh treats Jackie is similar to the way that Shelby probably is with Micah, Micah's friend Shelby. Occasionally you do have those people who come across as very acerbic, very facetious, they say things that you're like, oh my God, why would you say that? And then you have the people that love them. And just because you see somebody joke a certain way, it doesn't mean that that person does not love that other person. It doesn't mean that they're not there for that other person. It just means that it would not work for you. And unless we see these people calling, someone out of their name, I think we need to maybe stand down a little bit. And I say we, but I'm not doing that. I'm not going up in nobody's social media comments and writing stuff like, you see, he's not good enough for her, and you can tell him it. Get a life. Take some space and realize you don't know these people. Reality TV fans are never going to do that. They are always going to take more interest than necessary in the characters' lives that they see playing out online. And I guess I have to throw myself into that ring as well as someone who's taking more interest than necessary, because this video, me responding to the last episode, is now 36 minutes long. So clearly I have an interest. How about you? What did you think about the After the Altar? Are you excited for the next season? Please feel free to let me know in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching.